Today is Friday, July 24th, 2026. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. The mother, a black Wisconsin man shot 3 times by a Madison police officer, speaks out for the first time. You hear what she had to say. We'll talk with a city council member about the protests in the city on the brink of unrest. A black Indiana teen who was falsely accused of pointing a gun at a white police officer is suing her and the city of Indianapolis. We'll talk to his attorney. Louisiana Congressman Cleo Fields is not running for re-election after Republicans changed their maps. He's seeking his old state Senate seat. I wish he didn't. It's being called a modern-day civil rights march to save democracy. We'll talk to a couple of activists involved in the 1,000 miles to Memphis, a 36-day mission to register 100,000 voters. Bill O'Reilly and Geraldo Rivera clash over who won the 2020 election. I'm going to show you the stupidity of Bill O'Reilly. And that racist Nancy Mace, South Carolina Congresswoman, she's now targeting the Congressional Black Caucus and the other minority caucuses. Let's just say they fired back with the quickness. We'll also talk with the founder of an organization that is assisting disenrolled incoming freshmen at Howard University. Lastly, more drama on Capitol Hill. CBC members fire back at the nonsense. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Protests continue in Madison, Wisconsin. A black man is shot by a white police officer, shot and killed. The massive protests broke out around the city on Wednesday and Thursday, with demonstrators even interrupting the news conference of the Madison Police Department chief. Police say Corey Ruiz was shot on Wednesday when officers were responding to reports of an individual trying to break into parked vehicles. Reports say Ruiz left the area on a bike before falling or being pulled off the bike by 4 cops. During a struggle with the officers, police claim Ruiz took out a knife and injured one officer. When another officer's attempt to restrain Ruiz with a taser failed, the injured officer shot Ruiz 3 times in the head. All the officers involved have been placed on administrative leave. None of the officers involved were wearing body cameras at the time. A bystander captured the only video of the shooting. The Justice Department Criminal Investigation Division is now conducting the homicide investigation because law enforcement was involved. At a news conference today, Ruiz's mother, Elsa, expressed her grief and anger over her son's death.
My son was an exceptional guy. He was my love. He loved his daughter. He loved his family. He did not deserve to be taken out like that. They took my baby from me. So I never thought I would have to bury my baby before you buried me. And I would never
As you see there, Attorney Ben Crump is part of the legal team representing the family. Joining us now to discuss this is Sabrina Madison, the Common Council President of Madison. Glad to have you here. What do you know thus far about what has happened here, especially with the fact that there's no body camera footage from the officers?
Yeah, that video is very difficult. I guess the first thing I'll just say is my thoughts are always with Corey Ruiz's family. He should be here. I personally do not think that shooting was warranted. What I saw in the many videos that you showed and the videos that we've seen across social media, I just think it was unwarranted. What I know to be happening now is that the Wisconsin Department of Criminal Investigations now has taken over the investigation because Madison Police Department, of course, cannot investigate itself in the state. That agency takes it over. And my hope is that they will get this done as soon as possible. And myself and others are encouraging them to release information as soon as possible.
So the New York Times is reporting that Chief John Patterson said the footage on social media only shows one perspective. There were others. Well, part of the problem here is you don't have body cameras. Yep. It said the chief has been pushing for that. But how in the world in this day and age, police in Madison, Wisconsin don't have body cameras?
Sure, I'll answer that for you. So I joined Madison's Common Council in fall 2022, a few years leading up before I joined the Common Council. This community overwhelmingly said that they did not support body-worn cameras. And it's my understanding that the community or the Madison Common Council at the time listened to those community members, those organization leaders. And what the community members and the organization leads were saying is that we don't just want body-worn cameras, we want investment in our community. We don't want this without investment. I know since then there's been some other investments. For example, we have a CARES program that, serves folks who are experiencing some sort of mental health crisis. There have been investments in homelessness. But at the time around that 2020, 21, 22, folks were saying that they did not want these cameras. Since then, in the last couple of years, there has been a push for them. I think, too, when I joined the Common Council, our priority was ensuring that we can get our permanent shelter built for homeless men because we saw an increase in homelessness drastically, but we did not see the same increase in our funding. We actually saw a decline in our shared revenue. I will say last budget year, November 2025, there were several alders who wanted to defund the office of the independent monitor. The council decided not to do that. They wanted to take maybe $400,000 and give it to the Madison Police Department for body-worn cameras. However, I think most folks know that the investment is more than a couple $1 million. And at the time last fall, the chief was not ready with a budget proposal for us. However, even though we did not support that effort to defund the Office of the Independent Monitor, we had an open public meeting with the police chief, and our expectation for him was this year, we would get a budget proposal from him in order to begin the implementation of those cameras. He has submitted his capital budget request, which would implement those cameras over a 3-year period. I believe his operating request is now submitted. They're not public yet. I haven't seen it yet, but I do know his capital request has been made.
I covered City Hall in Fort Worth, county government in Austin, Texas. And covered city issues in Dallas, in Chicago, numerous places. The council doesn't have to wait for the chief to submit a budget request. Council members could have actually put it in the budget themselves. Why did that not happen?
Yeah, so I guess the difference could be here is that the mayor drafts the budget and we could amend her budget. So in theory, yes, we could have taken some things out of the budget in order to implement body-worn cameras, but there were no amendments with the exception of the amendment that would have defunded the office. That's the difference. The mayor drafts the entire operating and the capital budget, and then we can make amendments. Sometimes there's maybe $100,000 or $200,000 left over for us to divvy up and make some other decisions about, but that did not happen last year, where there was a push to cut other capital requests and other operating requests in order to do body-worn cameras. And my assumption or my guess is that didn't happen. At least it didn't happen for me, is because I was wanting to ensure that we could house men who were homeless.
Well, one of the things that you know, since Rialto, California became the first city to actually utilize cameras, I've always said it makes perfect sense because they're there to protect police officers if someone says that they beat them and that he didn't. And the flip side, it protects the citizens as well. And so, you know, the biggest concern that I have right here is that you actually won't have any actual audio or video in real time of what took place from the officer's perspective. And someone can say, well, this video started before, this started after, we don't see the whole thing. And that's really what we're now left up to. Interpretation.
Yeah, no, it sounds like, yep. I understand that. I definitely acknowledge that the lack of the city of Madison having body-worn cameras. I guess, again, at the same time, I'm also acknowledging that at the time, the Common Council back then, where the community was fighting for it, did not take it up. And then this last year, our priority was homelessness. And so we did not take it up. But this year, this will be funded in our 2027 budget. But I guess I also want to say, not to make an excuse about not having the cameras, I do believe that there's dash cam footage, but that is not a substitute for body-worn cameras, of course.
All right, then. Well, we certainly will continue to see what happens with the story. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Roland.
Thanks a lot. I want to bring in my panel right now. Candace Kelly, legal analyst, host Takeaway with Candace Kelly out of South Orange, New Jersey. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi. Michael Imhotep, host African History Network show out of Detroit. Candace, I'll start with you. The point I was making there, and this is going to be the issue, because you're not going to have the beginning and the end, you really don't know what precipitated this. And depending upon the video and when the person started shooting, again, they claim that a knife was pulled out. Well, does the video show a knife being pulled out? And, you know, all of that is important, which is why I just believe in 2026, there should not be a single law enforcement agency on the federal, state, county, city, school district level that does not have body cameras. And I've been saying this for years, that if the officers do not turn on their body camera and do not turn on their dashboard camera, or they turn off their body camera or turn off that dashboard camera, that should result in immediate termination.
And not only immediate termination, but just an immediate understanding that they are trying to hide something. If you have a camera and you are trying to turn it off. But, you know, even if we don't have the specifics about when the knife might have come out or if it came out or not, someone on the ground, look, you know, from the view that we had, when we look at the use of force, it did not match the level. It appeared as if that gun was right to his head and several shots were made. How does that equate with a gun? These officers cannot say that they felt their life was in danger, in jeopardy, and that knife that was under his body or somewhere at that point met up with that particular, those shots that went into him. And all of this is evidence. If you don't have the body cam, if you just have somebody who's, you know, an innocent bystander who did the work that needed to be done, thank goodness in this particular case, then at least you have some evidence. But if you don't have a body cam, you can't even build a case against the police officers. So I don't see why there's any justification at all, why anybody would say, no, we do not need to have body cams. Regardless of what side you are on, the prosecutors or the defense, you need that body cam in order to make a defense and not, or to make a defense for yourself and to make evidence. And none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense.
Can y'all roll the video again? I want to actually. Does the video that y'all have that we have in the control room, start from the beginning? Okay, all right, roll the video. Y'all roll it. Come on, no, I need to hear audio, guys. Come to my iPad. Okay, so I want you to come to my iPad. So I'm sitting here scrolling this video here, and then all of a sudden, so I'm seeing it right here, and we've got one officer on the ground, two standing up, female officer steps in. So you really have three officers. Another officer just arrives on the scene. You now have three officers who are there. All of a sudden, so he's literally on the ground. You see the officer with his back to us is stepping on him. And next thing you know, so I'm trying to see. Okay. All right. So if I freeze it, let me go back. If I freeze it, so this is what I don't understand. I'm gonna freeze it right here. Zoom in right here. Okay. So, and I hate that it's grainy, but what you'll see right here, this officer who's in the center, you literally have him on the ground, Matt. You've got this officer on the right, his butt is to us. He's the closest to him, and the councilwoman is still with us. He's closest to him, and he's closest to his head. The second officer has his foot on him. He's the second closest to him. And so then when I go forward, all of a sudden I see the foot come down right there, right there. This is what now, right here. The middle officer pulls his gun out, points it directly at him, and fires. I don't, Matt, what do you make of this shooting?
I think it's a bad shoot, for lack of a better term, as people would say. I think he's going to have trouble getting over qualified immunity. Let me explain very quickly how the law works and why I think in this case they're going to have trouble. So the primary case from the Supreme Court that applies in excessive force situations is a case called Graham versus Connor. And it's got a three-part test, and it basically asks, what is the severity of the crime? What is the immediacy of the threat? And is the person actively attempting to flee the situation? And the problem that I think they're going to have here is, as it relates to the immediacy of the threat, they're almost certainly going to beat the drum and say he had a fixed blade knife. A knife can cause harm. What's going to muddy the waters, just from a legal analysis, is the fact that the officer who's closest to his head is close to where the knife could theoretically be wielded. But the problem is you don't have to overlook the evidence, to your point about body cams earlier, in making the determination as to whether he should get qualified immunity. And I think the problem they're going to have here, to your point, is even notwithstanding the severity of alleged crimes or whatever they allege, the fact that he has a knife, if he does actually have a knife, you can see that that knife is not being brandished. Nobody's being held at knife point. He's not waving it. The mere presence of the knife is not justification to use force, let alone deadly force. So this is in the Seventh Circuit, I believe, Wisconsin. I'm not as familiar with their law as I am the Fifth Circuit, but I think they're going to have difficulty saying that he was actually posing a threat outside of the presence of the weapon, particularly if in the state of Wisconsin, you can legally have a fixed blade knife, if it's a pocket knife or whatever else. If you can legally have that and wield it, then the law presumes you can do so legally. So I tell you all of that to say, to your point, he's very obviously not menacing anyone or trying to hurt someone with the knife. And that's going to be the calculus the court looks at in the determination of, is there an immediacy of the threat? Was he actually brandishing the weapon? Was he trying to harm anyone? It's obvious that he wasn't. The problem is with qualified immunity, they still get to argue that they were wrong in their appraisal of the situation, but that they should have, absolution. They should be covered because of the circumstances. And that's really going to be the legal question in this case, is the officer who was closer to his head, who was potentially closer to the knife. Was it a justified shooting from the officer in the middle who fired his weapon? If he claims that he was afraid that other officer was going to be stabbed or hurt with the knife. I mean, that's almost certainly what they're going to say. And maybe he says it was himself. He was in fear of his own safety. But the court is going to look at that in the context of the video footage. And the video very clearly shows this man is on his back. He's not wielding the weapon. He's not trying to harm anybody. So that's going to be the legal analysis. And looking at that, just this snapshot, I think they're going to have trouble saying it was a good shoot and that it was a justified use of force.
Councilwoman is still there again. As I scrub through this, and again, I'm right here on the iPad. So come back to my iPad right now. So here's what you see. You see there are 3 officers. And then all of a sudden you see this one officer who is reaching for his taser, I believe. Now, you look at the female officer who comes in. She has her taser out, and you see her point, not sure she fires the taser. Now, all of a sudden, the second officer right here, this guy, you see him, he's got his taser, and then all of a sudden, they're trying to subdue him. Now they take him to the ground. Now, this is the point right here. He is laying down. We don't see his right arm. We can't see if there is a weapon. 2 of the 4 officers, they've got their tasers out. All of a sudden, he is literally on the ground, on his side. Officer on the right has his left knee in his back. He has both hands on Ruiz. The officer in the middle is stepping on him. And then all of a sudden, while he is literally on the ground, and you can tell he's not, his arms are not above his shoulders, then that 4th officer that's right in the center pulls his gun out, and not only pulls his gun out, points, he doesn't yell, "Stop it or I'll shoot." That's what happened. He immediately fires right into him. I'm going to play this zoomed in and you can see it. Turn it up. Okay. I'm going to scrub this back. Give me 1 second. I want to do something right here. Let me zoom in here. Hold up. Let me zoom in here. Okay. Councilwoman, it was literally 10 seconds. From the start of that video, it was 10 seconds before that officer fired 3 shots.
Yep. And there was a local outlet here, local media outlet that reported it was actually 3 seconds between the taser and the 3 shots.
Right, that was a taser. It was 10 seconds from the beginning. From the beginning of this video, the 3 of them descending, 4th officer comes in. It was 10.23 seconds.
Yep. I'm seeing what you're seeing. And I mean, if we have officers who can't de-escalate, there is 4 officers out there. This makes no sense. It makes no sense at all.
Michael.
Yeah, this is a tragic event, another tragedy. It's complicated by the lack of body cam footage, so we can see different angles from the officers as they engage with Corey Ruiz. It's also, now I saw the story from ABC News. I read the article from the Associated Press. It's also complicated because in the account from the police chief, a taser, they attempted to deploy a taser. Something happened, either it didn't deploy or what have you. And then also the police chief alleges that one of the officers was injured by the knife. Now, we don't know if the officer fell on the knife. We don't know if Corey allegedly stabbed or cut the officer with the knife. So trying to get the order in which everything happened. If it was a situation where a subject stabs a officer with a knife and another officer draws his gun to shoot, well, now you have a deadly weapon being used, the knife. While
Yeah, but here's the problem. But here's the problem. No, hold on.
Yeah.
I found another angle. So hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So this is another angle. This is the angle that's from the perspective of the female another angle. So here's what you'll see right here. What you'll see right here, you'll see that the officer who shot him, you see his hand is extended, and so all of a sudden he stands up. Now this is what I don't. So right here, now what you see right here is now you see. So I'm going to go back here. Okay. So the officer who shot him is on his knees. The second officer is on his knees. Then all of a sudden so you see they pull him up. Now I don't understand the logic behind that
either.
So they pull him up. Then they turning. Second officer comes in. Now you're going to see right here the officer who fired the fatal shot. He is on his knees and he's reaching for his weapon. You see it right here. He's reaching for his weapon. 1 second. Right here. Then all of a sudden, now, does he think he's reaching for his taser or his gun? All of a sudden, you see it right here. Female officer on the left, she is stepping in with taser. Third officer right here, you see him stepping on him to get him to stop. Then you see the officer draw his weapon, extend his arm. That's his weapon, right? That's his weapon. Now again, his argument may be, like it was in Tulsa, oh, they were reaching for the taser. He may have thought he had the taser and not his gun. But that's him reaching in right here with his gun, right here. Now, what I don't understand from the police chief, where an officer could have been injured with a knife anywhere in here, when this officer right here he's the closest, he's the only one who's on the body. His knee, you see it right here. They got to explain that angle.
Like I was saying, it really complicates things when you don't have body cam footage to really see from the different angles what happened. Now, lastly, there have been a lot of people who advocate, and I've known people in the past who did training for police in jiu-jitsu and martial arts, because I don't know who trained these officers. That's not how you take down a subject. Usually when you have officers working together, you have one maybe do a double leg takedown from behind. You have one that will sustain, will immobilize one limb while the other immobilizes the other limb. These officers here, I don't know what type of training that is. That's not how you safely subdue a subject that will avoid somebody from being killed.
Well, again, the reality is you got 4 police officers who were on the scene. A 5th one pulls up. In this video here, you see how they are subduing him. And if anybody just as basic as all get out, Councilwoman, you see it right here. It's real basic. Anybody watches this video can conclude that if you've got 4 officers surrounding one person, and when that person goes to the ground, give me 1 second. That person goes to the ground. This person is completely on his side. One officer one officer in the middle is stepping on him, pushing his leg down. One officer has his left knee on his hip, has his left hand on his left shoulder, has his right hand appears to be on his head. What logic would one officer pull his gun out at point blank range and fire 3 times when the man is subdued?
I don't believe that was a logical decision, a logical choice. To me, the option to shoot this gentleman, to shoot Corey at this time, made no sense. You have an officer, like you said, on his back. You have one who's put his foot down. There's a female officer in front of him, I believe, deploying her taser maybe. But either way, there are 4 officers with this gentleman. They've already got him down. So I do not agree that one of the options in subduing him should have been to shoot him 3 times in the head. It just makes no sense.
It does not. We'll continue to follow this, folks, case as we continue. Let me go to Councilwoman. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Let me go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. And they found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games. And people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Michael McMillan, President and CEO of the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
A black 18-year-old is suing the city of Indianapolis and an Indianapolis police officer who lied about him pointing a gun at her. On April 12th, Dalen Brewer was charged with multiple felony charges, including attempted murder. According to court records, Dalen parked his car at a local park when Sergeant Robin Frazier approached and noticed a handgun resting on his lap. Marion County prosecutors dismissed every charge, saying the body camera footage did not support Frazier's version of the events. Brewer's lawsuit claims Frazier violated his 4th and 14th Amendment rights. Attorney Terrence Kennard represents Dalen, joins us right now. Terrence, this is something that we talk about all the time. Officers will lie in their reports, leads to charges, and luckily, because I take it there was body cam footage that disputed what she had to say, and if the body cam footage ain't there, they're gonna believe the cop. And so she lied.
That's correct. So she lied. And Roland, what's important to note in your opening there, it wasn't just that body cam exonerated my client, Mr. Brewer. It was Sergeant Brewer's own body cam. And again, the body cam that she was wearing was her exact view of the events at the time they occurred. So the body cam was basically mimicking her own visual sight. So once she did all the things she did to effect an arrest, develop a police report and a narrative, recommend particular charges, including attempted murder against Mr. Brewer, and then filed that to be reviewed by a judge and the prosecuting attorney, there were questions raised about the events. And so they looked at her body cam footage, and her own body cam footage did not belie or make out or demonstrate what she had made in her report. Apparently, when she was questioned about those things, the prosecutor felt that there was no way he could go forward with charges, and charges were dismissed. But not until Mr. Brewer served about 4 days in the Marion County Jail here in Indianapolis, losing his freedom, particularly almost losing his job. But nonetheless, this young man, his reputation in the community, here's someone with no criminal history to speak of. Now he's labeled a criminal, labeled a felon. Not only just labeled a felon, the police have a particular website they use here where they like to use PR to show the number of felony arrests and how they're dealing with crime in the community. They placed this particular arrest in that platform, showed it to the entire world basically, and even after he was exonerated, they still haven't removed it.
All right, I want us to start the video from the beginning, sound up, so I can hear what happened.
You need to leave the park. Move your hand down. Okay? Open the door. Open the door right now. Don't move your hand. I need another car here now. Don't move. Don't move. Do not fucking move. No, stop. You understand? It's like, when everything's started. Ready, say don't move, okay? You have a weapon on you? Yes, he did. Did, but not anymore? Let's get him straight.
So this is her camera.
This is her camera.
We're seeing it. So what she did was she went, sat in her car. All right, I got to figure out what I'm going to say. Oh, okay, this what happened. And we've covered so many of these stories where the cops lie on reports. And if there's no bystander video, if there's no body cam footage, you know what happens? The public goes up, cop gets the benefit of the doubt, that must have happened. And so this man, and this is the thing which is why I think the lawsuit makes sense. Anything could have happened. He could have been shot.
Yes. And remember, in her report, if you had a chance to review it, she alleges that he points the gun at the door. She says he's got the gun in his lap pointing at the door.
Wow.
And she uses that as a basis to charge him with attempted murder.
Roll the video again. Roll the video again while he's talking so y'all can see what that doesn't even happen. Go ahead.
Doesn't even happen.
So keep talking. So she alleged he pointed the gun.
The door, right? Yeah, she's alleging at that moment he's pointing a gun at the door as she goes to open.
Freeze. He got his left hand up. At no point is he pointing the gun.
No. Now, he does have a gun in his lap, and he has a constitutional right to carry. But one of the things I point out to folks, Dalen does everything I would tell my 4 sons to do if encountered by law enforcement.
Right. Keep the video going. His hands are up.
Back. He's not being aggressive. He's literally doing everything we teach our black children to do when you encounter the cops. He does everything by the book. There's nothing I can point to that says, well, if you'd have done this. In fact, if you go back, right before she says, put your effing hands up or I'll effing shoot you, right before she says that, he drops his hand. So she tries to point to that. But what we later find out is he's trying to undo the seatbelt because she's giving him conflicting commands, get out of the car. Well, he's got his seatbelt on. So he goes to undo it, and then she uses profanity and threatens that she's going to shoot him.
Wow.
So she does all this aggressive takeover, giving him conflicting messages. And when she realizes, I'm assuming she realizes at some point she's made a mistake, she screwed up. So then she develops this narrative, and you hit the nail right on the head. If there's no body camera, who do they believe? Me or the cop?
Why does she approach him in the first place?
So we don't know the answer. What we do know is
roll the video back. Roll the video back to the beginning and keep talking, because I want to see. Keep talking. Go ahead.
So as she's pulling in, she gets in her car because she had been outside the car. Dalen and his companion pull into the park, and they drive past her patrol car. Now, she's not blocking entrance. She's not preventing you from coming in. They simply drive by her, reverse park into their space, and then she decides to roll up on them. What reason, she never really gives why she approached them, but she approaches them, and she says that at this moment, right before she opens that door, she says he's pointing the gun at the door panel, and that's what she uses as the basis for attempted murder. Moments ago, you saw him drop his hand. He's trying to undo the seatbelt because she's screaming for him to get out of the car. And then when he does that, she threatens to kill him.
And if he doesn't do it, he's resisting arrest and resisting a lawful order.
That is correct, which is one of the things she actually charged him with. So she charged him with intimidation, pointing the firearm, resisting, and attempted murder.
Is she still on the force?
Well, that's what we don't know. The city has been essentially tight-lipped about that, so I don't know if she's going to be going to grand jury. But rest assured, we're pushing the issue on that, and we're asking our county prosecutor to be more transparent. What's going on with this officer? Is she going to the merit board? Are you looking to convene a grand jury? What's occurring here? Because clearly you've demonstrated she's at least committed misconduct, right?
And here's the other problem.
Lied in an official report.
The other problem is if your client filed a false police report, he would be charged.
He would be charged. He would be looking at somewhere. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
He's looking at a felony. If he files a false report, he's looking at a felony, and he's likely going to do some time.
So she files a false report.
Yeah. And we don't know what happens. There's tight-lipped, there's secrecy, and they're saying, hey, we're still investigating. Well, what are you investigating? Because you've seen the video. The man sat in jail for 4 days before you released him, and you released him after dismissing all the charges because you realized what was alleged to have occurred isn't actually what happened. So what's the next step from the city standpoint? Dalen is showing you what his next step is. He's taking this to review. He's filed a federal lawsuit. So what's the city's next step in addressing this wrongdoing? And they haven't come forward an answer to that.
Someone in the chat asked the question: Is this cop black or white?
She is Caucasian, that's best to my knowledge.
All right, Terrence Kennard, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
All right then, Matt. This is the thing that we talk about all the time. These cops can lie with impunity. They can just make shit up and write it down. And thank goodness there's body cam footage that disputes every lie she told.
Well, first, I'm mad I didn't get to talk to the brother because he's a hero in my house. He did extraordinary work in that Natalia Grace case, and I wanted to tell him as much. So he's
all right. We still got him. We still got him. Bring him up.
Okay.
Go ahead and say what you want to say.
He's a hero in my house, man. I watched every bit of that, and I was like, that man is a dog. So I wanted to show you love, Brother Kennard. I thought you did a hell of a job in that case. I know it's unrelated.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
But in any event, in this case, Roland, I've actually had a fabricated evidence case, which is a 14th Amendment substantive due process issue. And mine was kind of crazy situation, to keep it very short. My client was a Navy veteran, an almost 80-year-old Navy veteran. He told me a version of events that did not jibe with what the police officer had. Police officer did not have body cam footage, didn't have dash cam footage. It was a fanciful story about my client driving over his foot, which was not proven. We settled the case. I tell you that to say 2 weeks ago, Local prosecutor sends out a thing saying they're not sponsoring any of his cases because they found other instances where he lied. So this kind of thing happens all the time. And what I'm hoping happens is that the county prosecutor there looks at every case she's been involved in, because there might have been people who've pled out behind her lying, her lying in reports. But I'm sure Terrence can tell you this happens all the time. I see it all the time. And it's not always as brazen as this. A lot of times it's a gross mischaracterization of what happened. It's close to what happened, but when you look at their body cam, it's not what happened at all. But in this situation, for her to do that, especially in a state like Indiana, that's like Texas, where a lot of people have firearms. So police officers come to cars knowing there will be firearms there. And for you to say somebody's pointing a firearm at a gun is a very specific allegation. Had she written it like there was the presence of a firearm or something that's nebulous, at the very least, maybe you'd have a plausible deniability, but this is just a blatant lie. And I see this all the time in my criminal cases. I see it in my civil cases. But to your larger point, it's very uncommon that the police departments actually punish people for this, that they punish them for these mischaracterizations. And we see some of the big ones, but this happens all the time. This is not surprising to me. Now, I don't normally see it this brazen, but what I also don't understand is how often it happens that police officers forget they have a body cam on because they write a report that is not consistent with the body cam footage. You watch the body cam footage and you see that they're out and out lying. So I'm glad he's got you, Terrence. I have no question you're going to do a hell of a job on this case, having seen your work. And I really think the city of Indianapolis is almost certainly not going to want to go the distance with this case. I mean, I don't know Seventh Circuit case law, but even in the Fifth Circuit, they'd probably want to write a check on this one because it's just a blatant lie and there's no defense to this position at all. So
this is also why, Candace, this is why black folks don't trust police. And the problem with leadership that Terrence laid out is that leadership is not doing anything about it. I'm sorry, she flat out lied on the report. And that, to me, is what is constantly problematic here, that, as Terrence told us, this young man, no record, no history, who's just pulling into a parking spot, gun pointed at him, could have got shot, spends 4 days in jail, and I'm sorry, as somebody who once got held in a holding cell, because my friend had to come from for like an hour because they didn't get because the parking ticket had gotten dismissed. I'd be mad as hell if I was in a damn jail for 4 days on some bullshit that was straight a lie.
Yeah, and not only that, like you mentioned, his reputation has been ruined. He's going to spend years from now scrubbing what is on the internet every time he tries to get a job or when he goes to school or anything that he applies for. And that, we know, is a Herculean task. I'm curious from Terrence, what does he think, to kind of piggyback off of what Matt was saying? What's the disconnect where police officers feel so comfortable that they can create a narrative from scratch, even though there is video, and they put it all in writing and they swear that it's true? How is it that they think they can get away with it when they know that eventually they're going to be two conflicting stories, one written theirs and one on the video camera? What is the disconnect there where so many officers keep taking the chance and say, I'll just go ahead and try to make up this story?
Well, it goes to this point, and it was said earlier, they at times they forget that they have this body cam. It becomes such a part of their normal equipment. They forget it's there, and they forget that it's recording. And you have officers who, I'm just going to be honest with you, they have this implicit bias. Here's young African-American males. They're at a park. In Indianapolis, this park on a Sunday it's pretty rambunctious. Lots of young folks are there, some middle-aged folks, and they're listening to music. They're having a good time. And there's sometimes some things happen that shouldn't, right? We understand that. So they come with this implicit bias and they assume that I can say, hey, I smelled marijuana. I know there's going to be a gun. To the other person's point, this is Indiana. Almost everybody has a gun in this town. So they come with this implicit bias. And all I have to say is he pointed a gun, I smelled marijuana, and everyone's going to believe me. The problem she has in this instant was body camera did exist. And I can't stress enough, and this is going to be a major point in my lawsuit, you have to understand she came with a particular narrative that she thought would prevail because all I have to do is say it. And if that body cam doesn't exist, Dalen Brewer goes to prison for nearly 50 years. I need you guys to understand that he's charged with attempted murder. In our state, you get the same sentence for attempted murder as you do for the murder. So he's looking at 50 plus years in prison at the age of 25 simply because someone made up a lie. And if that body cam doesn't exist, she's going to say, who are you going to believe, me or you? They're going to believe you, an 18-year-old black kid in the park, or they're going to believe a law enforcement officer who's a sergeant. So that body cam saved his life. It didn't just get him out of those 4 days in jail. It saved his life. But it shouldn't have to be that, because she shouldn't be allowed to get away with making up a blatant lie and putting that man's entire existence on this planet in jeopardy. Because if this kid goes to jail for 50 years in Indiana, you do 75% of your time. So I mean, if he gets a 50-year sentence, he's serving 40 years. So he's not coming out of jail. He's dying in there. And that's literally what she was putting this man in front of, a death sentence, because she wanted to continue with a broken narrative.
Michael?
Well, number one, I'm glad this brother had the presence of mind to file a lawsuit, seek legal counsel, file a lawsuit, understand that there's legal recourse for this, and he doesn't have to just be a victim. So number one, I'm happy about that. And I think it takes a lot of maturity as well to take that course of action also. But one of my questions is, how is your client doing? What's his mental state of mind? How is he now that he's able to file this lawsuit and the charges have been dropped against him?
That is a great question, and I don't mean that as a platitude. He and I and everyone is pleasantly shocked and overwhelmed with enthusiasm with the amount of public support we've received. I mean, if you look at the blogs and the comments, which I try not to do, but in this case, I'm glad I did,
Sure.
It's overwhelming in support of him. So when this first came out and the story broke, there was a lot of trepidation, a lot of fear, a lot of belief that there's going to be some backlash, but exactly the opposite has occurred. From one political spectrum to the other, everyone has come to the forefront and said, what happened here was wrong. And so the support he's receiving from the community has just been, it's been a blessing, to turn the phrase. It's just been overwhelming and powerful. I can't put into words, because we didn't expect to receive this much positive just support from everyone, not just here in Indiana, but all over the country.
All right,
Okay,
then. Well, certainly, I hope your client is recovering from this. Again, that is a traumatic experience, having a gun pointed at you, especially knowing full well what has happened to so many black men in Indianapolis and across the Midwest, across the country. All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
All right, folks. We're going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about Congressman Cleo Fields not running for re-election. We're going to talk about CBC's folks calling out some of these crazy folks on Capitol Hill. Lots to break down. Also, HBCU expert explains what the hell happened at Howard University. And Donald Trump, his folk admit in court that they refused to give federal money to states he lost. And the right ain't saying nothing. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to join our Bring the Funk fan club, use Cash App, use the Stripe QR code to see it right here. It's also for credit card, checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. Back in a moment. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games, and people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Hey, I'm Tasha Cobbs, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. But I need a little filter. I need something. Blow me out. Make me look 35.
Louisiana Congressman Cleo Fields will not be seeking a second term. Instead, he is running for a state Senate seat in Louisiana. The 14th district seat in Louisiana became vacant when Senator Larry Selders passed away on July 7th due to a heart attack. In 2024, Sanders replaced Fields in the state legislature when Fields was elected to Congress. Earlier today, Fields told Louisiana reporters about his decision. Cleo Fields was saying that he chose not to run because Republicans redrew his district. This filed the Louisiana versus Calais decision. Of course, now remember, he was able to run because the Supreme Court actually said that Republicans discriminated against black voters and created the second district. And then with the Calais decision, they came back and said, nope. They can go ahead, that you can't create districts with race. Republicans then raced to draw that district out, and then that's why he is not running. Now, you might remember when he was on this show on May 29th, I said Fields should run for re-election. I'll put my 2 cents in here. The reason I believe that you should run is because I believe, giving them a clear path is capitulation. And I think whoever, if you choose to run and you run against them, they have to answer for this. They have to answer on the record, will you stand up for civil rights? That Republican has to answer, will you stand up for voting rights? And every single question has to be put to them and then be able to go back to black voters and say, see, this is the person who is going to be representing you if you don't turn out to vote. And so to me, that's what has to happen.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. And all of that is being under serious consideration. And as usual, Roland, thank you so much for keeping the issues that affect black people across this nation in the forefront.
Michael, look, I get it. He was the state senator, and that position is opened up due to the death of his replacement. This is why I still wish he had run. Yes, the lines have changed, but the question is this here. Is there a stronger Democrat to run for that seat? That's what this really boils down to. I believe that these right-wingers have to be challenged. Now, that ain't just because he's a Democrat. When Bob Corker chose to step down as a senator from Tennessee, when Jeff Flake, Corker's a Republican, when Jeff Flake chose not to seek re-election in Arizona because, he might get a MAGA challenger, I'm like, damn that. Go down swinging. I just don't believe in giving in because they changed it and I'm not guaranteed to win, I'm not going to win. It's no different. Debbie Wasserman Schultz should not be running in that traditional black seat in Florida. She should run in another seat and take it to the Republican and put her record up against theirs. But damn it, all this running away from a fight doesn't actually help anybody.
Yeah, Roland, a few things. Well, I said here on this show, Debbie Wasserman Schultz should not run in that majority black district. She should do something else or just retire. And here with Cleo Fields, so I saw part of the press conference on C-SPAN that he did, where he announced that he was running for Senator Larry Selder's, State Representative Larry Selder's, State Senator Larry Selder's vacant seat. And he talked about he wanted to take it back locally, and he thinks he would be more effective in local government than in federal government in the House of Representatives. And, you know, I can understand that sentiment, but I agree with you. These are straight up white nationalists, white supremacists, okay, who have a plan to wipe black people off of the political chessboard. So you don't run from the fight. You take the fight directly to them. And he could probably galvanize a lot of support from not just black people, but also white people who vote Democratic in the district that he would run in to defeat these white nationalists. But you don't, I wouldn't run from the fight. I think he has a good heart, but I can't stress enough. These people have to be fought head on, okay? Run into another position. No, we don't understand how badly it's going to get. And, 53% of Project 2025 has been put into place. It's something like 280 policies the Trump administration has already put in place from Project 2025. This ties right into them, the bill from Nancy Mace. I think you're going to talk about it.
Well, I will.
Trying to get rid of the Congressional Black Caucus.
So, Bob Line is in here. Candace, it's about you want your strongest folk running these positions. And again, I believe that Representative Cleo Fields should say, I'm going to put my record up against any Republican y'all put up and let's swing.
I think that the Representative Cleo Fields has done the math. He has said to himself, where is it that I am most likely to win? Now, I'm not mad at him for that. I know that there is a fight to be fought and that he can fight the good fight and do well. And even if he doesn't do well, you need to fight so that people know that you've got a fighter and that you are not going to be backing down. He's 63 years old, from my understanding, and his plans might be something that we do not know of. And plus, he knows what that position is like. He's been in it before. It's a position that he can more than likely win. And he has thought about the outcome and the odds of him winning. And he has chosen where the odds are better. And I think that that is part of the situation here. We also don't know what's going on in his home life, his family life, what his plans are. He may not just be articulating right now because we know him as a fighter. But it does seem odd that he is not, moving in the path that we thought he was going to. But I am also not surprised that he looked at the numbers, did the math, and made this particular decision.
Matt?
Yeah, I echo both Candace and Michael's sentiments. I mean, I think he should have stayed and fought the fight, but I'm a little more cynical. I tend to think politicians are usually operating in their own self-interest. I don't say that to denigrate him, but I don't have this belief that most politicians are going to do what is for the greater good all the time. And I think this is a situation of political survival. I think Candace hit the nail on the head. He did the math. He figured out where he was likely to win and decided to leave. And as much as I'd like to think that he's guided by this sense of communal, duty to stay and fight to the death, I understand the reality, which is that he wants to stay in politics and he's going to move where he thinks he'll be elected. So that's my opinion on it. I think that they both hit the nail on the head.
Well, I just don't think that you're going to be able to sway voters if you don't put your best and brightest up for the battle. All right, got to go to break. We'll be back right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games, and people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
This is Eric Dickerson, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
As we just said, the Louisiana versus Clay decision has changed the politics in the South. Republicans wiped out a black district in Louisiana, as well as one in Alabama. They've been targeting seats in Georgia. They wiped out a seat in Tennessee, and other states also are being targeted. That decision significantly weakened Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, one of the most important protections against racial discrimination in voting and gerrymandering. Since that decision, voting rights groups have been in full force to ensure folks in the most racially gerrymandered districts in the South are registered to vote. We, of course, were in Montgomery for All Roads Lead to the South, a rally that took place. Those continue across the country. Today was the beginning of a 36-day, 1,000-mile solidarity march from Nashville to Memphis through the Deep South to register 100,000 voters. Activist Angry Male Vet and Kasim Rashid, the president of Just Win Humanity, join us from Nashville. Glad to have both of you here. Why are y'all doing this?
Well, you said it, Roland, that we are living at an existential point where voting rights are being gutted. Ever since the Shelby versus Holder decision in 2013, we are seeing a systemic dismantling of voting rights on a scale that is only matched by the Jim Crow era. Most folks don't realize that prior to Shelby versus Holder, there were more than 200,000 polling locations across the country. Since then, more than 100,000 of those polling locations have been dismantled and shut down, disproportionately in Black and Latino neighborhoods, increasing voter suppression. And now with this Calais decision and the potential of the SAVE Act being passed, we are facing a reality that if the SAVE Act passes, Black voters in particular will have fewer voting rights in 2026 than they did in 1966. So we are working with dozens of organizations locally, the NAACP, Equity Alliance, Black Voters Matter, to use our platforms. We have dozens of influencers, content creators, civil rights activists that have tens of millions of followers on social media. Our goal is not to come in and tell anyone how to register to vote. There are amazing organizations already doing that work. Our goal is to be here and use our platforms as megaphones to elevate these stories, share the amazing work that Black activists are already doing here on the ground, raise some money for them, and achieve this goal of registering 100,000 voters. And if nothing else, show that we're not going to take this sitting down. We are going to fight for our democracy because it deserves protection.
Activist Angry Male Vet, listen, you're walking in a state where Republicans there literally put up Charlie Kirk's signs on a highway, pissing off veterans. Now they've had to remove those signs after the vets protested. And you're dealing with in a state that is so red that they don't believe even in local control, stripping power out from Memphis as well as Nashville.
Yeah, it's a odd space to be in. You know, the first three words of the oath I took were to the Constitution were "We the people," and right now I'm watching the Republican Party who is attacking segments of "We the people," and that is Black American voters. And so it's difficult to be in a red state where I am watching a segment of society be diminished and their voting power be reduced and not having the representation they deserve. So I think this is one of those things, 1,000 miles to Memphis, where we can raise that awareness of the importance of registration now more than ever, just like Kasim was saying, that where they are trying to take the power of Black Americans, we need to bring that awareness back to people and let them know that this is an important chapter in our history and something has to be done about it. And me, as a white, male combat veteran, I should be the loudest voice in the room talking about this, because I took an oath to protect everybody and serve everybody in this country. And I am watching the Republican Party attack a portion of them, and that's not right. And I'm going to do something about it.
So you talk about registering 100,000 voters. And one of the things that I've made clear to Democrats is that, listen, Black folks are out there doing their part. But part of the issue you have is you got a lot of white folks in Tennessee, in Florida, in South Carolina, in North Carolina, who are not stepping up. So who are you targeting with this effort to register 100,000 voters?
Great question. And I want to emphasize that this is a march that's going to start in Nashville. It's going to go to Atlanta, to Birmingham, to Jackson, and then back up to Memphis. So it is a loop through the South. And really, who we're targeting is everyone. I mean, we want everyone to vote. We want to maximize voter turnout. And I'm going to reemphasize that the goal of this is not to build a new system. There are already amazing Black-led organizations that are doing the work. The goal of this is to elevate the work that they're doing. The money that we're raising through Just for Humanity, a nonprofit, a 501c3, we are going to be utilizing these resources to support these local organizations. And I'm happy to come back and report on that once the march is done as well. But I think fundamentally, most Americans don't realize is how aggressive the voter suppression is. Here in Tennessee, you can't just go and register to vote. You have to go through a certification process. Shelby County, they've made it illegal. And so most Americans don't even know how bad this cancerous impact of white supremacy is. And so one of the pillars of this is just to elevate these stories, let the folks locally tell their own stories, elevate those voices, and hopefully create more of a rallying cry behind it. And you know, if you can make it out to march with us, you can go to 1000milestomemphis.com and find a local march. Join us for a day. If you can't come out, then you can donate to the work that we're doing and make sure that you're helping us support these local organizations that are doing the work. And at the very minimum, we have a registration link that will triage you to your local state and help you get registered to vote. And so if nothing else, visit 1000milestomemphis.com, make sure you're registered to vote, and find 5 or 10 friends before the midterm elections and get them registered to vote. The only way this works is if we work in unison and build this massive coalition, a multi-racial, multi-gender, cross-state coalition. If we can do that, we can be effective, but it's not going to happen alone.
I understand the point of registering anyone. The reason I asked that question, activist Angry Male Vet, is because when we talk about the South, it's a lot of white voters who depend upon federal government, who depend upon money from the federal government. There are a lot of white conservative voters, independents, who don't like Obamacare, but they want the Affordable Care Act preserved, and it's the same thing. These same rural white voters are the ones that are sending their kids to die in the military. And what I have always said is that we often have initiatives that target Black voters, that target Latino voters, but in this country, we literally are afraid to say we're targeting white voters. And I just believe that that has to be said that way because in many of the places in the South, they're the ones who are actually benefiting from the work of progressive politics, yet voting against the same politics.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And I think there need to be more faces like mine that are at the forefront. And they're out there, and those voices are growing. but people need to see white, especially white males that are voting for policies that are going to benefit everybody, especially rural voters, rural white voters, and break through this propaganda machine that has been perpetuated by the GOP for decades now, that is getting people to vote against their own best interests. And so going out there, 23 years in the military, combat veteran, as a white face and saying, you know, these are the kind of policies that will make our lives better, everyone's lives better, especially in the rural areas, I think is super important. So I hope that in my presence in this multiracial, gender effort going through, that my presence, I'm going to be marching in uniform, part of my uniform, going through, that people understand that there is a permission structure to go vote for things that are going to benefit you and not continue to go down this, dark road of listening to the lies that are being perpetuated by the current Republican Party that have done nothing for them over decades.
All right, then. Well, certainly good luck.
At my presence, I'm going to be marching in uniform, part of my uniform, going through, that people understand that there is a permission structure to go vote for things that are going to benefit you and not continue to go down this, Thank you, Thanks, Roland.
All right, thanks a bunch. Folks, we have made it clear that the twice impeached, criminally convicted con man in chief, Donald the Con Man Trump, only cares about red states. Well, they are finally admitting in court that, yeah, we didn't give money to states because they didn't vote for Donald Trump. Yeah, seriously. The admission was reported by the New York Times, and it shows how they operate. Okay, we're talking about $7.5 billion in grants for education, energy, health, housing, infrastructure. Okay, it's all there. Go to my iPad. You see it right here. It's how they weaponized it, and they want to control the money and damn what Congress actually has to say. Now, they're blatant. This is what it says. The White House court did not respond, and so look at this here. After reviewing its spending, the Energy Department last fall created a list that recommended canceling more than 600 grants awarded by the Biden administration for a wide range of novel energy projects. That list included funding for projects in states represented by Republicans and Democrats. But in October, the White House Budget Office, led by Russell Vought, terminated only 284 of those grants. In a social media post announcing the news, Mr. Vought pointed to the motivations. Nearly $8 billion in green new scam funding to fuel the left's climate agenda is being canceled. Months later, in court filings, federal officials indicated there was little else that had informed the final decision about which grants to cancel. With one exception, a lawyer for the Energy Department conceded in a court filing this month, the 284 terminated grants had a recipient location and or at least one place of performance in a state that awarded its electoral votes to Kamala Harris in the 2024 election and has 2 Democratic caucusing senators. The lawyer acknowledged that none of the grants were included in the October terminations, quote, based on any programmatic, statutory cost reduction or performance-based factor. And what they were scared of, the reason they agreed to this, Candace, they were scared because of future depositions that would reveal even more shameful behavior.
And you know what? This is why good journalism matters. Let's start there. We know that if it wasn't for people who were on the ground looking through these documents to begin with, they would not have found these truths. And we know that the people who also refused these particular grants that had to do with the environment and housing and infrastructure, we know for a fact that these were people who were refusing it because of politics. And it's something that we are not surprised about at all. Not as a panel, not as a country, not as a world. This is not surprising. I also think that it just goes to show how far people will go in order to hide the truth until they are forced to actually tell the truth. Because as you said, this would have never come out had it not been for other depositions and things that will actually reveal more. So this is an important story, not just because of the story itself, but because it represents a larger picture as to what is going on in the United States of America that actually ultimately impacts the world in terms of how we are seen as a country and how we compete on a larger scale. So an important story, not surprised.
Matt, federal officials offered the new details about the grant cancellation as part of an agreement with plaintiffs meant to spare the government an exhaustive evidence uncovering process known as discovery. The court filing said that process could have required federal agencies to hand over more damaging records. The agreement applied to other federal agencies targeted by the lawsuit, including the Department of Transportation and the Department of Health and Human Services. Some agencies later revealed new details about the ways in which they reviewed their grants, using specific words tied to Mr. Trump's political priorities and past directives for possible cancellations, according to additional court documents this month. The filings also appeared to undermine the congressional testimony of Energy Secretary Chris Wright, who spoke about the cancellations in a June House hearing, saying no decision were made on politics. Sounds like he committed perjury to Congress.
Yeah, it sounds like he said something that was untrue under oath in front of Congress. And I'll tell you, talking about discovery, literally this morning, I deposed 2 federal employees in a case that I have, and it is not an easy thing to do that. So they certainly did not want that information to come out. And really all this is the spoil system. This is the same spoil system that existed before President Garfield was assassinated, and the exact reason the Pendleton Act brought us a merit-based civil service. That's what it is. You get elected and you get to have the spoils, and that's what Trump's team is doing, not only with federal positions and the appointed positions, but here through the disbursement of money. Now, what I'm really surprised about is that they didn't have a pretext. I mean, that's what's so crazy about this, what we're seeing with them, all the corruption we're seeing.
There was a pretext.
So
there was a pretext. He lost the state. That's the, and see, here's the crazy part. He lost the state, but it's not like there weren't Republicans in the state that voted for him. He was like, screw y'all.
Yeah. No, that was the reason. I'm saying there's not a pretext, like a purported reason that's okay for them to do it, right? Like the person who gave that statement said there was no programmatic reason that we didn't disperse this money. What you normally see people do is say these programs were deficient for this reason. We divested the money from here and put it over here for some other reason so they can have plausible deniability.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
But see, when you're so corrupt, you don't give a damn about plausible deniability. It's like, yo, whatever Poopy Pants wants, we're gonna do, and that's just where we are. And guess, you know who's the most silent, Michael? Fox News, right-wing media, silent. Oh my God! If this was Biden or Obama, we wouldn't hear the end of it.
Absolutely, and it's some of those poor white people that watch Fox News that are in some of these states that had these grants taken away from them that are being hurt by these policies. So just a couple quick things. I got the breaking news alert from the New York Times. So I read the article about this. Russell Vought is the architect of Project 2025. Okay, so let's start right there. Okay. And Project 2025, one of the things it deals with, not just DEI, but attacking climate change grants, because the Biden-Harris administration was really progressive when it came to dealing with attacking climate change. That's one of the things that the Inflation Reduction Act did. And what we've seen, and we can go to the 62 lawsuits that Trump and his cronies filed trying to overturn election results in the 2020 election. They say one thing on Fox News. They say one thing on Newsmax. But when they go to court, it's something entirely different.
They're liars.
And what we see,
they're liars.
What we see here, but what we see is when they go to court, more than likely they tell the truth, because they know if they lie in court, they could be brought up on perjury charges, possibly disbarred, things like that. So what I'm saying is, in the court filings, they told the truth. It's different than what they say on TV, on Fox News, on at press conferences and things like that.
Yes,
so
because as Candace and Matt will know, those lawyers are like, y'all ain't screwing up my law license.
Exactly. They're saying you ain't screwing up my future. So yeah, so this is really good reporting. And once again, this shows the consequences of elections. But if you go back in October of 2025, Russell Vought held up the project, that tunnel, New York tunnel, that's $16 billion. And when he said he was holding up, they were trying to root out fraud, what have you. But they also mentioned DEI, unconstitutional DEI. That was another reason why he gave for doing that. Okay, so this is excellent. But once again, this goes to the consequences of elections. This is why we have to take back power and hold these people accountable and vote them out of office.
Again, what we are dealing with are flat out pathetic individuals who will absolutely lie about anything. This is who they are. I don't trust them to do anything. I've never trusted them. And again, and we've said this, Fox News and all of these people will defend them at every single turn. Update in the Nolan Wells case, folks. The autopsy report in the Nolan Wells case is going to remain under wraps until a grand jury review. That's the decision of the District Attorney Angel Miles McElrath. She released this video laying that out. Let's get this to play. 1 second.
I want to talk directly to the people of Jackson County. Our community is grieving the tremendous loss of Nolan Wells, who is loved and treasured by everyone. Nolan's family deserves answers, and our community deserves answers. Every death in the county, except those of natural causes and non-criminal car wrecks, are presented to your grand jury. Many people don't know that. We have handled death investigations in this manner my entire career. Nolan's case is being handled the same way, with the same care and the same commitment to the truth that we handle all death investigations. I understand the public's urgency to know what happened to Nolan, but we are not taking time for time's sake. We are taking the time required to complete the work this investigation demands. Since Nolan was reported missing, local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies have worked around the clock investigating what happened to him. Every piece of evidence must be examined. Every credible lead must be followed to its conclusion. Every witness interview must be analyzed in context of all other evidence. The pressure for answers does not change what the work requires. Our responsibility to Nolan and our community is to complete this investigation thoroughly, carefully, without compromise, supported by the evidence and worthy of the confidence of the people we serve. I also understand that many people have questions about why more information has not been released publicly. In Mississippi, the rules of professional conduct restrict the information a prosecutor can release during an investigation. Our restraint in communicating facts and evidence is not an effort to keep the truth from the public. It is an effort to protect the integrity of this investigation in the grand jury proceeding. As your district attorney, I have an ethical obligation to avoid public statements that could influence witnesses, prejudice a proceeding, or compromise the fairness of the legal process. My obligation extends to and requires me to use reasonable care to ensure investigating agencies avoid making those statements and releasing information as well. These rules exist to protect the search for the truth, not to prevent it. As divided as the discussion surrounding Nolan's death has become, I know we all want the same thing, to understand what happened to Nolan. With that being our shared goal, we must also share in the goal of protecting the integrity of how the truth is discovered. If we sacrifice the integrity of the process in effort to satisfy today's questions, we risk undermining the confidence in tomorrow's answers. When the public asks, what about this, or have they looked at that, or did they think about this? The answer is yes. Those are the same questions investigators ask. The difference is that we can't publicly discuss the evidence, the interviews, or what those efforts have uncovered while the investigation is underway. Again, our restraint in sharing details of the investigation is not a refusal to share the truth. It is our commitment to protect the process that allows the truth to be known with confidence. There's a lot of information out there, and there is a heck of a lot of misinformation out there. I simply want the community I serve to know that this investigation is being handled with the care, professionalism, and commitment to the truth that every family in Jackson County deserves. As we continue this important work, Nolan's family, his friends, and all who loved him remain in our prayers.
So, Matt, you can't release the autopsy details?
You can, but I will tell you, I'll probably take a different tack than other people on this, having been the number 2 at a DA's office. These are the real conversations that are had. I mean, people have the real conversation about what can we release without affecting the integrity of the investigation. Now, whether she can release it under Mississippi law, I don't practice and live in Mississippi. I don't know what it is there. In Texas, it could be released. We don't have this, at least not that I know of. We didn't have anything where we had to hold an autopsy before it could go in front of a grand jury. So that may be an election on their part. I do think generally from a law enforcement standpoint, it is smarter to keep information in before it goes to a grand jury, before you disseminate it, especially in a case that is a high profile case. I mean, I just think that that's their ethical duty to try to be good stewards of the case that they're building. Whether they have to do that is a different question. Whether they always do that is a different question. I don't know those things, but I do know there's some benefit to being smart with that. But I will say on the opposite side of that, every time I see a statement like this, I think about Bob McCullough in the Michael Brown.
Yep.
And if you remember in those statements, what they tried to do is they tried to get people's assurance that you could trust the process by using the grand jury as this nebulous thing that exists out in the ether, and you can trust what's going to come from it because we took it to the grand jury. Now, I can't say what I ever did in front of a grand jury as a former prosecutor even, but I will tell you, at least in Texas, the only entity that has a right to go in front of the grand jury, like as a matter of course, is the prosecutor, not the other side. So what is said in a grand jury room? In fact, if you might remember with Bob McCullough, they were frustrated. People were frustrated that they weren't actually endorsing a specific charge to the grand jury. They were asking the grand jury to see if they saw something, and then no indictment came for Darren Wilson from that. Now, I will concede, depending on the place that you are, I think sometimes the law is written that a grand jury should recommend a charge. So there's a legal, way to look at that in different regards. But the larger point is, I think sometimes prosecutors in high profile situations use the grand jury as a means of getting heat off themselves. And then if it comes down where there's no indictment, they can say, hey, we gave it to 12 people in the community. They looked at it. This is the mechanism for determining this. No blood on our hands. And I don't know that she's doing that here. I will say, I think this statement was more robust than a lot of times you see from prosecutors, at least explaining part of the law. But I also recognize that she's got her own interest, which is looking like she's handling this correctly and maybe re-election down the end of at the end of her term. And that calls into question what's actually going on behind the scenes. But I do think there is a valid time to keep information in, especially in a high profile case like this, especially where, there's going to be two contingents of people on both sides of however it comes down. There's going to be a group of people who are happy about the outcome and a group of people who are very unhappy about the outcome. And I think they want to control as much information going out at this point. So it makes sense to me logically, but I also think that there may be some space where they could totally release the autopsy without running afoul of the law, and maybe they're just choosing not to do that.
Well, Candace, Matt decided to take your thunder. I was going to specifically ask you about that St. Louis case in terms of how they were like, well, we just took it to the grand jury and, they decided. I mean, this is giving me shades of that.
And grand juries are sealed, right? So we don't know what that process is going to be. That will ultimately give us the decision after the grand jury process is complete. I think the other thing is that so far, they've released everything else. We've already had the police come to a conclusion that there was no foul play involved by like day or 2 or 3 after they found the body. We have information and audio and video and statements and people talking and press conferences. And now you want to stop at the autopsy? So we are already in a position where we have talked about this and any other case so much that your idea of an impartial jury and the Sixth Amendment right to a fair and public trial it's already kind of diminished, right? We know that people are going to go in there and they're going to have to be reversed in terms of their thoughts, because everybody has information about this case. And you're supposed to go inside, say, as a potential person, as on a jury, as an impartial juror, someone who can clean the slate and go in there. So even we have all this information, give us the autopsy too, because we have so much already. It doesn't matter. We have too much that we've been discussing. Even with what the autopsy has given us so far, this red spot at the back of Nolan's neck, we've been talking about that for days now. Everybody everywhere, people who could potentially be on the jury and everything. We also know this about what happens in a court of law. Who knows what evidence is even going to make it inside of the trial if it goes to trial. It all goes through a process where really the evidence you have to go through a process, and certain evidence makes it and certain evidence doesn't. So we don't even know what's going to be considered. So we might as well see what all of it is, because this is all part of the process in terms of us being taxpayers, keeping the lights on at the courthouse, paying the prosecutor, paying people who are on the jury. It's our right to see everything, and it's our right as the public to have access to everything starting now.
Michael?
Yeah, Roland. This does seem like somewhat of a diversion to take heat off of the district attorney's office, take heat off of the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, because we still, not only are we still waiting on the autopsy, but we're still waiting on the toxicology report from my understanding. Okay. And then if it does go to a grand jury, will there be a suspect? So, you know, I don't know the law there in Mississippi, but I know in other cases, they would at least, like here in the state of Michigan, they would at least release what the finding of the autopsy was. Now, they may not have a big press conference,
right.
But they may say what the cause of death was based upon the autopsy. Okay, so this doesn't give me a good feeling. Okay, this doesn't, and you know, I hope they do their due diligence. Everybody wants that, but when you start talking about the grand jury, and I understand the process, okay, but grand jury is not all it's cracked up to be, because it's just, as Matt said, it's just the prosecutor there presenting the evidence. You don't hear the other side, so it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Well, bottom line is we know what happens here. Y'all, this came in late, and it shows you how stupid Donald Trump is. So he is so upset because the Smithsonian Museum of American History tells the truth that this fool has signed an executive order, go to my iPad, it's the New York Times, that he's ordering warning signs placed outside of the museum saying they're telling inaccurate history. So it said the unusual directive made through an executive order was a considerable escalation of the president's dispute with the Smithsonian and his history report. The order went so far as to suggest that the signage inform potential museum and visitors of locations where American history is better presented. The administration did not explain where the public would be redirected. Oh, that's great. So it's like, no, Michael, like, no, don't go to the slavery section. No, go to the white power section. Like, skip that one.
It's scary black people that they talk about in there. Warning, you know, is DEI, is revisionist history. They're talking about the country was stolen from Native Americans and built by slaves. Warning, they're lying. So once again, this man is sick. I mean, God, look, I've never seen anything as decrepit, as stupid as Donald Trump, who's ignorant of history but wants to go to war with historians. So just as the parental advisory stickers on music in the 90s and the 2000s caused more people to buy that music that had that type of language, maybe this will cause more people to go to these museums and support them and support Black-owned museums as well. Warning, it's scary black people in there. It's Nat Turner. It's the Haitian Revolution. Warning. So what can you say? This is the dumbest white man I've ever seen in my life. I'm sorry.
Candace?
You should always have somebody in your corner to tell you when you have a dumb idea. He just doesn't have those people.
Because he's dumb.
I mean, and this is par for the course. Every single idea he has, he tries to carry it out. And as you said, unsuccessfully, right? Because these signs aren't even complete in terms of what they should go to and what they shouldn't go to. I keep just saying, I'm not surprised, but it's also a lesson to be learned in terms of how he functions and how he just does what he wants to do. It's amazing to see him in action. And I got to be honest, there are a lot of lessons to be learned. You know why? You say something, you do something enough, people will eventually begin to believe in your product and endorse you. And that's how he's gotten a lot of people on his train, because he does exactly what he wants.
He's an insane idiot, Matt.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, man, you know you're down bad if you're beefing with the Smithsonian. I mean, that on my
God,
for
you
2026.
put up some warning signs. I have white fragility.
Warning signs at the Smithsonian. See, also, the Smithsonian came about because a British guy left a bunch of money. He hadn't even visited America, a British scientist. So, you know, if you want to tout that a white guy started the Smithsonian. But this is just, you know, absurd. I love the way Candace framed that. He doesn't have anybody in that White House who will tell him that he has a dumb idea. But there's got to be somebody in there like, we're really beefing with the Smithsonian right now. We have bigger fish to fry. But this is a part of that fragility. And this is also a part of that propaganda machine that attacks everything that is not prototypical white and whatever you think is red-blooded American. And if it doesn't say that America hasn't had its warts over the 250 years, then, you know, it's revisionist history and it needs to be attacked. And that's what we're saying. And it's absolutely stupid.
All right, folks, I'm going to go to the break. We come back. We're going to talk about Howard University, the drama there. Plus, want to talk about stupid? Bill O'Reilly and Geraldo Rivera. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. YouTube people, y'all over here commenting. I see y'all acting crazy. Can y'all hit that damn like button, please? We should easily be over 1,000 likes. What is taking y'all so long? We should be at 1,000 when we come back from this break, all right? So get on it. Also, if y'all want to join Bring the Funk Fan Club, please do so. Use the Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. There's a credit card as well. Checks in money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal is rmartin unfiltered. Venmo RM Unfiltered. Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. If you're listening, go to BlackStarNetwork.com for all the ways to give. Back in a moment. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games, and people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Hey, I'm Malcolm Lee, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, it has been 48 hours of a lot of drama at Howard University. More than 500 students were disenrolled due to failing to pay fees, and folks have been all over the place. Lots of blame game. A video was posted on social media of a parent who went to Howard, who went to physically to the university to pay, but they wouldn't let her pay. So it's just been crazy. And one of the things that I need to go ahead and say this here, Howard University, what's the point of having a communications department if you don't communicate to the people? Listen, written statements, I get it. But why do you pay people, a VP for communications and other public information officers, if you're not publicly coming out and explaining to people what's going on so they understand? It's only to your benefit. That's the point of an office of communications. How about you communicate? Folks, on Thursday, the Esther Funding Foundation announced its full support for Howard students by offering financial resources. It was founded in 2023. The organization aims to prevent college dropouts among first-generation minority and low-income students. Shayna Vincent is the executive director and founder of the Esther Funding Foundation. She joins us right now. I'm glad to have you here. So, all right, what the hell do you make of all of this? And listen, I'm going to play a video in a moment. Dr. Erin Lynch, she posted a video on Instagram where she said, listen, there's some responsibility on the side of students and parents to make sure they are following up with the right information. But there's also responsibility on Howard University side.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me and just for allowing Esther Funds Foundation to be a part of this very important conversation. Again, my name is Shayna Vincent. I am the founder and executive director of Esther Funds Foundation, also known as EFF. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization working to prevent college dropouts by helping students overcome financial hardship and emergencies. As a proud Florida A&M alumni myself and an HBCU graduate, this issue is deeply personal to me. For the past several years, I have had the opportunity to directly work with college students and help them navigate financial challenges and emergencies. So I am grateful for the opportunity to discuss who we are and how EFF is supporting effective Howard University students.
So how are y'all helping them and how much money have you already doled out?
Yes, absolutely. So EFF recognizes how stressful and discouraging this situation is for effective Howard University students. One way that we are currently helping students is through our EFF Howard Help Desk. So this desk provides private consent-based support to effective students. EFF helps each student organize their timeline, identify missing information, and gather relevant documentation and contact the appropriate Howard office, and also prepare a clear advocacy or reinstatement request. We also have started a public petition, and we are asking that Howard reviews each case in a timely manner as we've been working with students for the last few days, and students have saying they've heard nothing from Howard since being unenrolled.
How many Howard students are y'all currently working with?
So as of right now, Esther Funds Foundation, our help desk has received over 56 verified student cases.
Gotcha. 56 student cases. And how many of those 56, how many have y'all helped resolve?
So we're currently working on all cases. Right now, we've only been able to reinstate one student. But again, we have no authorization on actually reinstating the students. That's up to Howard, but we're able to at least help students organize their case.
All right. So folks,
to the university.
So if folks want to reach out to you, how do they do so?
Yes, students and family and parents can reach out to nationals@estherfundsinc.org. We also have organized an emergency balance relief fund. So we're currently raising funds to help eligible Howard students with verified balances to pay off their balances if that is affecting them from returning back to Howard.
Got you. Real quick from the panel, any questions?
No questions.
Well, I'm wondering.
Just thank you for helping. Go ahead, Candace.
I'm just wondering, what is the miscommunication that you are seeing? Because often, and I went to Howard, Matt and I know about the A building and the administration building. We can talk about that another time. But, oftentimes these cases and financial aid are pending. Or information is not communicated, the system is not caught up. I mean, I can't believe we're still talking about this in 2026, but that's how it was when I went there and would be up at 4 a.m. trying to get in line in order to talk to someone. So are you finding that that's what the consistent story is that it's a financial aid pending problem, or is it a miscommunication problem? They just didn't know. What are the 56 people telling you?
So students have communicated that they are waiting for aid to post. They stated that Howard said that they had until August 3rd, I believe, or a date in August to get their balance paid, but then they unenrolled them at an earlier date. So they were a little confused on that. Howard said it repeatedly communicated that requirement over the last few months since March, but students were just letting us know that they thought they had an extended deadline to get that completed.
Yeah, that's exactly why we need a real spokesperson. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna thank you, Shayna, for you and your team helping students. Having been an alum myself of Howard, Candace is exactly right. This was an issue, unfortunately, when I was there back when I graduated in 2008 and before. So it's a perennial issue, and there is kind of dual responsibility. But I'm glad there are organizations like yours that help, because this really imperils a lot of students' matriculation through the university. So I'm glad there's someone there trying to help them.
Yes, absolutely. Students can also request a donation by sending us an email, as well as we are on standby to help out with school supplies, grocery, meals, transportation, etc.
All right. We still appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Folks, Dr. Erin Lynch, she, of course, is she's the president of the Quality Education for Minority Network. Often, she's a HBCU researcher. She posted this on Instagram explaining also what went on here. Check this out.
My youngest was already warning me that I'm probably going to get canceled and lose some followers because of this video, but I need to speak about the Howard situation. Y'all already know I stand 10 toes down for my HBCUs, always as an advocate. I was educated by one. I worked at two. I have stepped foot on 78 of the 103 campuses. So you already know I always come from a place of love and do no harm for my HBCUs. So I'm Dr. Erin. I have a PhD in industrial organizational psychology and EDD in curriculum instruction, and I've been an educational leader for the last 20 years. So if you're coming across this video, it means the universe wants us to connect. So go ahead and follow, or you can just leave a comment, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this conversation. Right now, everyone is really upset with Howard University. And so while we're talking about what the university should have or could have done, we also need to have the conversation about the responsibilities for students and families in the financial aid clearance process. Because the university may actually be limiting what they can say publicly to be able to protect student privacy, which I fully support, I, on the other hand, don't have that. And so I'm going to explain to us the process and how it usually works for our institutions. We know paying for school is complicated. There is a reason why people have literally built entire businesses around helping families to navigate higher education, and they know who they are. Let's step out of our feelings for a moment and actually unpack the financial clearance process using facts and standard university procedures, okay? So I've worked at 5 different colleges, and although every institution has its own policies, the basic process is usually the same. Students who receive some sort of outside scholarship are typically required to submit official documentation to the university scholarship office. That documentation is clearly identifying the student, the scholarship provider, the award amount, and when that payment is expected. The university then verifies the award and determines whether or not it is sufficient enough to reduce or to eliminate any type of upfront payment. Now notice, eliminate or reduce upfront payment. There is still an upfront payment for our institutions, because ultimately our college universities are still businesses. They still have to operate as businesses. So in some cases, a verified scholarship may be entered into a student's account as awarded but not yet paid. This allows the university some actual time to recognize that the funding is expected even though the money hasn't arrived yet. But the student's record should also include some sort of notes that document what the award is and its current status. And this is exactly what old Chicky Poo said last night on Roland Martin.
We're going to cut the check like Scholarship America says and does. We'll send it to you with the college's name. You send it to them. I forward that email to the director of financial aid. They put a note in her account and they credit her the amount of the scholarship because they know the money's on the way.
Timestamp written documentation is provided to the college, period. In the case of the students of Howard, if these things were actually done, there would be time-stamped proof via either the emails that they submitted or the financial aid module that they use in Access HU student portal. That means there's a record showing that they followed the steps, that they did what they were supposed to do when they were supposed to do it before the deadlines. The scholarship office typically then works with the bursar's office, completely different office. That's to make sure that any type of credits that should be reflected on the student's account are done so correctly. So even if you call a financial aid office, it's not the financial aid office that actually handles the student account. It's the bursar's office. Students should also be able to review their credits, their charges, their balances, all through their student portal. And in this instance, Howard University used to use a system called Banner. Now they use a system called Workday. Workday, and they're probably using a system called Power FAID, so Power FAID, to be able to supplement any type of thing that Workday can't handle. All of these platforms allow students and their families the access to be able to monitor all of their pending scholarships. They can create reports, they can document any type of account activity, and they make any type of adjustments to those funds as they arrive in the portal from the bursar's office. Here's the really big part that most people are actually missing, right? So even when you have a scholarship or financial aid that's expected, you still might have to do a payment plan because they need to be able to ensure that those funds are going to come through. Colleges are educational institutions. They are also businesses. They still have to do payroll. They have housing. They have utilities. They have technology fees, food services, all types of other expenses. So a university cannot automatically extend an unlimited line of credit to students whose outside funding might not have arrived. So this is why students typically have to sign up for a payment plan to assure that they're going to pay the university for those services even before the scholarship actually shows up. A lot of times students and their families are encouraged to make some sort of minimum required payment. So whether that's your $100 deposit, your $300 deposit, doesn't matter. Most institutions require it. What happens is if your scholarship doesn't come through in time and you had to do the payment plan, then when that scholarship or financial aid is finally received from whoever that third party is, then overpayment is charged to your account and you get a refund. So you end up getting the money back. This is why I feel like folks need to have this conversation. This is where family accountability comes in. We get the emails from the federal government that tells us when it's time for us to go ahead and approve our students' financial aid requirements. We get the notifications from the school. And in this case, I don't know what more Howard University could have done. If you notice, their financial aid has a whole YouTube page dedicated to this process. Their Instagram has videos. Their Instagram has had sessions about what to do for financial aid. The students themselves have admitted that multiple emails have gone out. What more do we want the school to be able to do in this case? I don't understand. Ultimately, colleges are still businesses, though. This is what we have to understand. For at Howard, for example, so according to their iPads in 2024, they had $255,535,000 in tuition and revenues that was generated. Yeah, and I said only because their total expenses as an institution was $1.174 billion. And they reported only $1.245 billion in revenue, which comes from grant revenue, contributions, endowment returns, athletics, all those things. In that year, they awarded $189 million in discounts and allowances, $28.5 million of which came from their endowment returns. So when students have outstanding balances, the school then has to float that money. And if the payment plan is not in place, then that means the school has to figure out where to get that money from. And they just can't extend a line of credit like that when they have so few dollars to begin with. And you might think that $1.245 billion in revenue is a lot, but when you pull out their $1.174 billion in expenses, yeah, that only leaves about $78 million for them to operate off of. And that's not really a whole lot when you're trying to take care of students in the best way that you can. Bottom line, as they discuss on Roland, there's processes to these. And a lot of folks who are making the money off of our institutions understand these processes, and they're able to capitalize off of it for their own benefit. I would say we need to ask the hard question. We need to understand that there are two sides to this coin. And so asking the tough questions might not be comfortable, but we can't lay the blame completely at the feet of our institutions. Particularly, they sent out multiple emails. They have well-documented processes. They have a YouTube page that gives all the videos. They have an Instagram page in which they have shown that they've had multiple sessions to be able to help people to prepare for this. This is a situation in which our feelings have gotten in the way of the actual facts. And so I beg you all to dig a little deeper. And before we start doing all of this public bashing of the institution, that we remember that there are two sides to the story and two sides to this coin. My youngest child's already warned me that I'm probably going to get canceled.
All right. So, Matt, let me start with you. You said you went to Howard. Why the hell couldn't Howard do this video? I mean, this is what is dumb to me. What Aaron laid out were just flat out facts in turn. Again, sending out a press release doesn't do it. I literally got more information in her 6-minute video than I've probably gotten from Howard's press releases in the almost 8 years I've had this show.
Well, first, I love alma mater, so let me start with that. But in my love, I will say that, we got to be held accountable. I don't know why they're taking that communications tack. I think it's always helpful to at least get your narrative out there. I'm not a communications professional, but it's just like the conversations we've recently had about Fisk and how they've got, their issues and they're not talking about them until you had Dr. Clark on here a couple of weeks ago. So I think Howard should explain this. But I think there are a lot of things that add contour here that I'm wondering about that I think may give a fuller picture. First, in my time at Howard, I graduated in 2008, right? And I remember, if I remember correctly, the number that Howard got from Congress annually was like $260 million. I'm interested in knowing how that's changed, if it's changed. I think you've talked about it on the show, but I don't recall, number one. Number two, though, these are incoming freshmen. So I do think that there's got to be a question of what percentage of these people just didn't know the process, information wasn't disseminated. I mean, yes, there's an individual accountability part of it, but also these are people who are moving from across the country to go to the greatest university on earth, if you ask me. And there are things that are going to be lost in translation. And I don't know how much of that is personal. People were overlooking things. I will tell you my literal story. I didn't even get a letter of acceptance from Howard until I called Howard to see if I was going to be accepted back in 2004. And I'm standing in my parents' living room, and a woman deadpan told me on the phone, "Congratulations, you've been admitted to Howard University." Sometimes universities don't get it right. They didn't even send me a letter until after that point. My point is, sometimes processes don't work the way they're supposed to work. I don't know how much of that happened in this situation. But the other problem is Howard is a unique institution in that I think it gets obviously outsized attention on the university. I think it's the largest HBCU, but we're also an HBCU that commands a lot of influence.
No, it's not.
Honest. And I think,
no, it's not.
I think, yeah.
No, it's not.
I think
it's not the largest HBCU.
Oh, I thought it was.
No, it's not. It hasn't been the largest HBCU in years. It's not the largest HBCU. No, it's not the largest HBCU. The reality is Morehouse, Spelman, Florida A&M gets as much attention, has been in the headlines as Howard as well.
Cool. But that really is not as important as the larger point I was going to make, is that Howard benefits greatly from its alums, from its current students, from its partnerships, from all of those things. So my point with that is I don't think it's a one-to-one comparison of just, dollars and cents in terms of whether the university has a benefit to floating lines of credit. Now, that can't be interminable, no question. But I mean, the reality is at any institution, in my time at Howard, there were people who never had financial aid issues. There was always somebody who could find the money. There was always a way to make their account balance. And that's the reality of how things work. And I think Howard benefits from a student body that is, very enterprising, like a lot of the other schools you mentioned. And I don't think it's as simple as just dollars coming in, dollars going out. But knowing more about the phenomenon, I think it's hard to analyze this in a vacuum.
But the problem that you have here, Candace, we're not talking 30 or 40 students. We're talking 500. That's a lot of people. And there are many universities that have incoming students who have to pay balances. And this is not the first year Howard has had to deal with this. Last year, there was a massive drama over students who were graduating who found out that they had owed fees from a year or two earlier. Well, we had an intern here who was in tears because, what was the number, Carol? I think they hit her. They hit her, like, she's 2 days from graduation. They're like, "Oh, you owe $6,000." And she was no, it was like a week before. And another one of our interns, literally her parents had to go apply for a loan to pay the money off so she can walk across the stage, and here the family already bought tickets. All I'm saying is, if you keep having these issues, you have an internal problem. And what leadership should say is, we ain't dealing with this again. Fix the internal financial problem because it's a black eye on the institution.
And it has been for decades. And Matt and I are here to tell you that firsthand. And you can hear from other people. But this is just like with the Miss Spelman pageant, where administration put out information and there was no face. I'm paying $60,000, $70,000 a year. You've got a marketing, a PR department, as you said, communications department, and no one can talk about this, answer questions, do a presser for me, go live on YouTube and TikTok and answer. No one can do that in 2026. You're just going to have all of these students that are just going to flail. Like you said, the woman that you just played, she gave a very good explanation as to what was going on. But here's another thing that we have to remember about students, and I've been teaching them for 25 years. Some of them just don't get it because this is all new to them. They might be the first ones going to college, or maybe even their parents have gone to college, but they're trying, they're out there working and they're trying to figure out how to pay this $60,000, $70,000 bill if they're living on campus. I have students who don't go to class, and that's in every university. Like, how does that not connect? That's because these students are used to working in a different context and understanding that, when you pay bills to PSE&G or T-Mobile or what have you, they give you a little bit of time. They give you a little bit of waiting, and they're trained in that way, and they don't understand at all the process, because even people at Howard or Harvard, it doesn't matter, Florida A&M, even they don't understand the process. As she said, there are people who are making money to make people understand the process. It is so difficult and convoluted. Parents don't understand it. Students don't understand it. They just are ready and hopeful and dreamy that they got into the college, and that hopefully when they get to the A building at Howard University, that someone will hear their case. It's hard to get anybody to pick up the phone. You got to go down there and stand in line. And if you're in Wisconsin and you're waiting to go in, you're not going there now. You're waiting to come in mid-August when you're going to be admitted and move into the dorm. So like you said, it's all just a mucked up system that I cannot believe they have not fixed after all of these decades. Other schools have done it. Why can't they? But there is fault in everybody's arena.
Right.
The key, the administration has got to, we have to see somebody on TV move their face and mouth to answer these questions so that there can be some accountability.
Right, and if you stand up before the cameras and say we've had more than 500 students that were impacted, we resolved 100 or 200 of those cases today, and we've got folks working around the clock to sort this out, Michael, that's what you do. But you also want to avoid stuff like this right here going social media of a mother showing up to the university trying to pay the fees and was turned away. Watch this.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. Her balance is practically zero. Her scholarship came in today. She only owes $1,400. I told them I will pay this now.
I'm Jay Lawson on the campus of Howard University because over 500 students have been unenrolled at Howard's incoming freshman class. Now, the vice president of enrollment says that basically the tuition had to be paid 50% on the account in order for the students to secure their enrollment. However, parents say that the emails have been confusing, frustration. A lot of parents have come up to the administration building offering to pay the remaining balance of what they believe is left on the accounts, and the administration is telling them that there is nothing that they can do. The vice president of enrollment also says that some cases will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis because there were a lot of external funding and scholarships that needed to be applied to accounts. But right now, a lot of the students who have been turned away, their families say that they don't know what they are going to do.
Like, what's this money is the problem that can be solved. Yeah. It's not fair. I called since May trying to get in contact with somebody. They did not respond. And when they did respond, they gave me miscommunication. They can pull, they said the calls are recorded. They can pull those calls to hear what the...
Again, Mike, if a parent comes there and says, I can pay the $1,400 and a scholarship is come in, you resolve the issue. Now, maybe what Howard has done is disenroll those 500 and enroll a new 500. I don't know. I'm just simply saying, from an institution standpoint, these are not the kind of videos you want publicized.
Yeah, you're right. It's not. And this is when you need a crisis management team. If you have a background in communications, you understand this. This is when you need this, especially in the age of social media.
You have a crisis management team when you have an entire communications department. You literally are paying people to work in your communications office to communicate when things like this happen to the public and the media.
In theory, yes, Roland, but where are they?
It's not in theory. No, it's not in theory. They literally are being paid right now to show up to work, and somebody had to write the press release. All I'm saying is you got a lot of people. Wayne Frederick, you got a lot of people, okay, No, Matt, you like frowning. When I see a lot of people, you don't need 500. You can literally say provost, VP enrollment, head of financial affairs, bursar. You can have your chief communication officer. All I'm saying is this ain't a good look, especially all this also why it's not a good look. It's also not a good look when you are seeing record enrollment at HBCUs, and so you don't want the students who are juniors or sophomores saying, "Hey, man, I ain't gonna consider going to Howard because, man, I'm not trying to go through that nonsense." Because some of the people who got denied were Bill Gates scholars, Jackie Robinson Foundation scholars. These ain't shade tree scholarships.
Right. So I understand they have a communications department. What I'm saying is they have to do their jobs. That's why I was saying, where are they? That's what I mean. Where are they? Okay. Now I understand the deadline was July 10th. I'm not sure the date of that video of the parent you just showed. Okay. But you know, I agree with Candace also, because I remember when I was a freshman, luckily, my mother had graduated from my alma mater, Wayne State, so I had somebody to help me through the process, and my dad helped me through the process. But if you have a freshman, maybe they're the first ones in their family to go to college or graduate from college, right? Even though the university, according to the reporting, sent out notifications by email, personalized financial aid information, et cetera, things like this. If there are multiple dates, you got somebody 17, 18 years old, they could get confused by it, okay? So you got to have your crisis management team actually out there doing their job, trying to solve this. And, you know, the other thing is yeah, you're dealing with deadlines, and sometimes people get confused of, well, I have this money coming. They say I'm getting this amount from financial aid, so maybe I don't need to do the payment plan. Well, based upon the video that you showed, the previous video, and looking at the reporting, even if you have the funds coming, you still have to do a payment plan to have a certain percentage in by a certain date. So this is a mess. My heart goes out to them. But hopefully, you know, there's some solutions here. Hopefully they can salvage this, but this does not look good for Howard University.
Well, this was the press release posted on their website. Their media contacts are Lydia Sermons or Carol Wilkerson. I'm saying y'all need to get in front of a camera. I can't imagine if a mother says a balance is $1,400 and a scholarship just came in today, and if she comes up there and say, I can pay the $1,400 right now because scholarship came in, how do you not resolve that so you don't have a crying mother and daughter going out to the cameras? Matt, go ahead.
So I do want to speak on that. I mean, I remember when I was in school, I don't know if it happened to me. I'm sure it did, because I had to fund my education with student loans. But they used to purge people, is what it was called. And probably when you were still there as well, Candace, they would purge people, but then they would give them time to come in. Now, obviously, this is freshmen coming in, 500 people from this class, but I suspect Howard is going to say that they're going to, like she said, I think the reporter said they're going to review cases, you know, case by case. So I don't know that all 500 people are going to be barred from going to Howard. They may make other decisions to go. But I mean, even in my time there, almost 20 years ago that I graduated, they would purge people out and they had a system for people coming back in. I don't know how they've changed it since, but that this is a common thing. Now, it is a problem that it's a common thing, but I suspect all of those people aren't going to be blocked out forever, because in my own time, I saw that people would get purged and they would be able to go back to the school. So I don't know what that process is going to look like. And also, I think the school may be taking time to investigate this before they jump out and give information, and then that information is false. So I agree with you. I think they should address it head on, but I can also see the benefit of trying to make sure you have good information before you disseminate things.
Absolutely. And listen, you know, in 2024, you know, you had some 11,000 students at Howard University, North Carolina A&T, the largest HBCU in the country. has 13,000 students. And all I'm saying is you don't hear these stories at other large HBCUs. If I'm in administration, I'm asking, why is it just us? I got to get to the last two things. I got to show two right-wing idiots. First and foremost, Bill O'Reilly and Geraldo Rivera had a conversation regarding Donald Trump in the election. And if you want to see a completely old and decrepit hypocrite, all you got to do is listen to Bill O'Reilly. You want to see stupidity? Here you go.
And the reason that I'm successful is I work my butt off, all right? And I understand how America works. I understand the folks, okay? You understand the folks too, but at a different level. I understand.
The difference is that
that 77 million people who voted for Donald Trump think that the establishment media is dishonest in this country. So I stepped up and developed a product, all right, products, books, radio, television, whereby they can access somebody who isn't corrupt, me.
All right, you're not corrupt. And I agree with you, and that's what I love about you. But let me ask you, did President Trump lose the 2020 election? Yes or no?
There's no evidence that he won the election. So evidence is, and you know this because you're a lawyer.
Like he lost.
Evidence is that you can take it to a federal grand jury and litigate whatever the crime may be. That has not happened. That is a fact. Okay? So there isn't evidence in play.
There's no evidence that he won the election because he lost the election.
Okay.
He lost it.
You're entitled to that opinion.
He unleashed this anarchy on the capital of the heart of democracy.
That just happened. He clearly said peacefully, and if you go over the speech, you know what
he liars of the Republican Party.
He didn't want those people to go into that building, and he knew it was going to hurt him, and it did hurt.
He wants people to lie about the election, who won the election.
It's not a lie. It's an opinion. There's a difference between a lie and an opinion, and you got to understand that difference.
I'm sorry, the Crypt Keeper just said, I started all these products because the media is corrupt so people can get the truth. So now I'm going to lie about the election. Geraldo, that's your opinion. That's not fact. It's a fact he lost. Like, dude, you literally destroy your own argument because you're a liar. Oh, also go to my iPad. You're not corrupt, but you did pay $32 million to settle a sexual harassment lawsuit. So you are that. Candace?
You know, this is evidence of why we are seeing what we see in this United States of America, because we continue to be built upon these two ideas that either Trump won or Trump lost. I mean, this is really just an indicative of what's going on in America. I am not surprised by their exchange. He does have a point that an opinion and a lie in terms of the court of law will be treated differently in a court of law. I will give him that. There's case studies and there's law, Evans and Novak, if anybody wants to look it up. But this is not surprising that they would be arguing like this. It really sounds like they're just filling time too. It doesn't even sound like they're taking themselves seriously. It doesn't sound like they think anybody would actually take them seriously. The fact that they're both still on air, I think they're both very grateful. And this is why they're on opinion-related shows and not the real news.
Michael?
It's good to see the disgraced Bill O'Reilly. I remember when he had to settle that sexual harassment lawsuit at Fox News, and when he left Fox News with his tail between his legs. That was a good day for America. You know, these people are mentally deranged. He didn't want to come out and say that Donald Trump lost the election. So he just wants to say, well, there's no evidence that he won. No, he lost. Okay. And he doesn't. And if he came out and said he lost the election, then he would lose a lot of his followers to his podcast. All right. So, yeah, you know, these are some really sick people. They're comical in one sense, but they have millions of people that listen to them. It's a lot of stupid idiots that own guns that listen to them. Some of them stormed the U.S. Capitol, and they always like to hinge their argument on the fact that Donald Trump used the term peaceful, go peacefully. He said it one time. But while they were storming the Capitol and beating the hell out of police officers, Donald Trump sat there in the White House and watched it for 187 minutes and did absolutely nothing. What's peaceful about that, Bill O'Reilly? So the facts just totally contradict the lies that they tell. But once again, these are people that see power slipping through their little fingers. So he sounded like the Grinch. He sounded like a white Grinch.
Nah, he's a crypt keeper. Matt?
Well, first, I love Michael saying, it's good to see the disgraced Bill O'Reilly. That took me out. Thank you, brother. Hilarious. Only thing I'm going to add is, Candace kind of alluded to something that I think is really emblematic of where we are in this country, and that is the acceptance of the idea that there's not objective truth. Bill O'Reilly said there's a difference between an opinion and a lie, but you can't have I guess you can have an opinion about an objective fact, but there's a question as to whether something is a fact or whether it's a lie, right? And what we saw in real time on January 6th was people storming the Capitol. What we know is people were prosecuted for that criminal acts occurred. And no matter how much you try to spin it, it is an objective fact that it happened. And I think that denialism is something that has been emboldened by the GOP, all its propaganda, and its consistent push to just undermine the idea of objective truth. And that is the scary part of where we are in America, because people are emboldened now to say, well, I don't agree with you. I have a different opinion, when what we're actually talking about is an objective fact. That is a huge problem in our society. It's a cancer that Mr. Trump leverages and the GOP leverages. And it's precisely why there's so much misinformation, disinformation, and so many people who are just cut out of the system. So it's sad to see these old people doing this, but they also leverage that. And like Michael said, that's why they're still on TV, and that's why they're reticent to say things that undermine their base continuing to support them.
No, I don't know why in the hell Chris Cuomo put Bill O'Reilly on TV, because what I'm not going to do is have it's not an objective fact that he's a sexual harasser selling that $32 million lawsuit. It's real clear about that. But what I'm not going to do is have somebody try to tell me, well, no, it's not a lie. It's an opinion. No, if you claim you won and you lost, you're lying. Speaking of crazy, demented crypt keepers, she might be 48 years old, but my God, that's a horrid 48-year-old looking woman. And that's Nancy Mace, Congresswoman from South Carolina. Now this idiot, who has no political future, who lost her race for the governor's mansion, pissed off Donald Trump badly. She can't win anything. Now she's introducing a bill, says she wants to get rid of the various caucuses in Congress. Now, of course, you have the Congressional Black Caucus, Congressional Hispanic Caucus, and the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus. And then, of course, you have several minority staff organizations. So she said, this is what she said: race-based caucuses are not about diversity. They are segregation sanctioned by the legislative branch of the federal government. You do not get to lecture America about inclusion while running an organization, checking skin color at the door, or advocating for Americans of one race over another. It is discrimination under the guise of diversity. Our resolution calls it what it is and shuts it down for good. Well, let's just say she got smacked around. Go to my iPad. The leaders of the Tri-Caucus said Nancy Mace rose to infamy for her cheap political stunts, and this is just the latest distraction from her failed primary and complete inability to deliver for her constituents. Members of Congress have every right to organize around shared policy priorities in the constituencies they serve. There are dozens of bipartisan congressional caucuses dedicated to ethnic communities, geographic regions, industries, veterans, faith traditions, and countless other interests. Signaling out the Congressional Tri-Caucus, which represents nearly half of all Americans, is racist and a shameless attempt to silence the voices of minorities. The Tri-Caucus does not need a lecture about what constitutes federally sanctioned segregation, least of all from a member who has repeatedly made racist and bigoted comments about minority communities over the course of her tenure in Congress. The Congressional Tri-Caucus was formed to address the needs and concerns of Asian, Black, Hispanic, Native American, and Pacific Islander American communities that are too often ignored in the halls of power. These caucuses existed long before Nancy Mace arrived in Congress and will remain long after she fades into irrelevancy. That, to me, Candace, is an excellent statement.
And it is. And we know that based upon the history of these caucuses, it's not like certainly they have energy and they have influence. They don't have voting power. These are optional caucuses that people can be a part of. Either you're in it or not. And what is she going to do? Set up for other caucuses and get rid of them? There is the Caucus for Women's Issue. There's a Northeast Midwest Congressional Coalition based upon where people live. This is just a terrible precedent. If she thought that it was going to do something that made sense, you'd have to get rid of all the caucuses. They're optional, they're equal powered, and they provide energy to the base and causes that people choose to be a part of, period. So she got told off and told in a way that she was supposed to, in a way that let us know that what she said didn't make any sense and wouldn't have any good standing.
Matt, maybe she can join Lauren Boebert and start the Aggrieved White Women Caucus.
It's good to see the disgraced Nancy Mace. Look, this is the problem with political pageantry is you got crazies like this who are going to continue to say crazy things. So they have a bullhorn and they have people's attention trained on them. She lost that race, like you said, and this is the kind of thing that is just stupid, especially when you're from South Carolina. How many Black people are in South Carolina, right? I mean, just you couldn't be more brazen with your racism, but none of this surprises me. You're exactly right. And at the end of her time, when she determines that it's going to be the right thing for her to go Marjorie Taylor Greene's way, she's going to try to do a 180 and hope that we don't remember all the stupid and horrible things that she said. So I'm glad that they read her the way that they did, especially that last paragraph about her fading into irrelevancy. I think that was chef's kiss.
It absolutely was. Michael?
Yeah, I saw this statement today from Nancy Mace, and I wonder if they're going to have her back on the Breakfast Club to talk about this. She was on the Breakfast Club talking to Black people, and then now she's calling for the Congressional Black Caucus to be dismantled. And, what's interesting is the Latino caucus, the Asian Pacific Islander caucus, and the Congressional Black Caucus. A lot of those members represent districts that are majority white districts. That's the other thing here. So this is just another attack on DEI. And I wonder how much support she's going to get in the House of Representatives on this. It's not likely to pass, but I wonder how much support she's going to get from people, like the crazies, the Troy Nails out of Texas,
Andy Ogles and all the races.
Yep, some of the other ones as well. So. But I like the response from the Congressional Black Caucus. But once again, I expect these people to attack HBCUs. I expect them to come after the D9 also. African Americans somehow come after African American fraternities and sororities and say, they discriminated.
No, you can't do that because Alpha, the first white member, was actually in Alpha before the U.S. military was desegregated in 1948. So that's not going to fly.
Well, they don't know that. It's not going to stop them from trying. We said they're stupid, right, Roland?
They can bring their punk asses they want to, but if just wanted them to know, and although I can't stand what he's been doing when it comes to taking over school districts, in Texas. There's a certain person named Mike Marath, who happens to be the head of the Texas Education Agency. And this here is a, let's see here if I can just show y'all. This here's a photo of Mike Marath. He plays alpha at SMU. So please, Nancy Mason.
All these.
So they don't. Every one of us got white, Latino, members. Asian members. Yes. And here's the deal. So remember I told y'all about Howard University Communications. This is probably why I can't work anywhere to be a communications officer, because if I was writing the Tri-Caucus response or the Congressional Black Caucus response, I would have sent out this video.
Sorry about the inconvenience.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Kiss my entire ass.
That's what I would have sent. I'm just saying. All right. That is it for us. Let me thank Candace, Matt, Michael. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. All right, y'all. That is, yes, I would totally kiss my entire ass. All right, y'all. That is it. Hey, if y'all want to support the work that we do, join our Bring the Fuck fan club. Y'all can support us, of course, via Cash App using Stripe QR code. You see it right here. That's for credit cards as well. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. And, of course, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Then, of course, PayPal is R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. So you can catch us there. Then, of course, we want you to download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Samsung Smart TV. Get our Black Roland Martin Unfiltered swag. And so we want you to go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com to get our swag. We certainly would appreciate if you would do that. Also, we got our America at 250 shirts with some great quotes. I think y'all would really, really, really enjoy that. Also, all of these products that you see here, these are our products, all black-owned companies, and so we want you to please support them. When you buy those products, you also are supporting this show, and so we certainly appreciate if you do that. And again, these are all black-owned companies. You know, we spend lots of time talking about our support for black-owned businesses. We created this marketplace segment because we wanted to give these black-owned companies an opportunity to share their products, an opportunity for you to buy from them. A lot of them do not have the marketing that you would expect. You know, they don't have the marketing to be able to spend lots of money. And so by doing this allows us to give them as much attention as possible. And so that's why we do this. And again, when you buy these products, when you buy from shopblackstarnetwork.com, that's what we want you to do. When you buy from them, you also are supporting this show as well. And so please support these companies. All right, folks. Don't forget, download the app Fanbase. You can follow me on Fanbase at Roland S. Martin. So I appreciate it. Got some great things that are going to be dropping soon. And so we want y'all to download that and support them as well. All right, y'all. This weekend, I'm going to be on the road. Sunday, I head to New Jersey. My man Wendell Haskins, he is holding his annual Original Tee Golf Classic. The original golf tee was actually created by a brother, George Grant. And so this tournament is named after him. Now, Wendell is a huge New York Knicks fan, and so unfortunately, we had to deal with all this blue and orange crap this weekend. But the golf tournament is going to be on Sunday. We're going to be, of course, bringing some great content back and sharing it with you with some of the folks who are going to be there. Then, of course, on the next day, I'm going to be in Detroit. So I'll be broadcasting Monday's show from Detroit. A man, Jalen Rose, who truly has an awful golf swing. He has his 16th annual Jalen Rose Leadership Academy Celebrity Golf Classic. And so at TPC, Michigan. So I'm literally leaving Philadelphia early Monday morning to fly to Detroit to show support for Jalen, but also to do the show from there. He's doing some amazing things there with his charter school. And so I want to be able to show support. And again, show support for Wendell, show support for Jalen as well. And so, the money raised by these charities are benefiting African-American interests. What Wendell does with his golf tournament, that's benefiting African-Americans who are in golf. They've been able to support some amazing golfers over the years. And in fact, if you look at the LPGA Tour, there is a young woman who's on the LPGA Tour. Her name is Amara Avery. Amara Avery, I played with her in one of these tournaments when she was 12 years old. She played in this tournament several times. As a matter of fact, it was an amazing experience playing with her because in my group was Beverly Johnson, who Wendell had previously supported for the tournament. It was, and then also it was Lee Elder, the great golfer Lee Elder. We were all in the same group. Well, Amara Avery is now an LPGA golfer. She actually plays on their secondary tour. She became the first African American to win on that tour. And in the history of the LPGA Tour, no African American woman has ever won an LPGA tournament. And so she made history there, and so we really look forward. She's been having an amazing year. She went to USC, has been a phenomenal golfer, but she was one of the golfers who actually played in this year. Marcus Bird, a young brother, he's on the APGA Tour. It's an it's a professional tour as well. He's dominating there. He's played in this golf tournament as well, and so that's why I appreciate what Wendell does with this golf tournament, really supporting black golfers, giving them a shot, being able to help them financially because it's extremely, extremely expensive to actually play golf. And I was actually looking for one of the photos that he sent me of playing with Amari. So yeah, she was 12 years old playing that tournament, and now she's a pro. And so it's a great tournament. So look forward to seeing Wendell and Jalen this weekend. And so again, we're going to have some great content from both to share with y'all right here on the show. Folks, that's it. Y'all have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy yourselves, stay safe, and remain unapologetically black. I'm going to see y'all on Monday. Holla!